Listen closely, mortals, for I have a tale that will chill your very souls. My bones have witnessed horrors that would turn your blood to ice, and tonight, I shall share with you the story of Dr. Marcus Thorne, a man whose obsession with death led him to discover that some things are better left buried. It was the autumn of 1987 when young Dr. Thorne first arrived at Ravens Hollow Medical University. Fresh from his residency, he was eager to make his mark in the field of forensic pathology. The university's basement morgue became his second home, where he spent countless hours examining the deceased, searching for clues that others had missed. But Marcus had a secret, an obsession that grew stronger with each body that crossed his table. He wasn't just interested in solving mysteries. He was fascinated by the process of decay itself, the way flesh melted away to reveal the eternal truth beneath, the bone.
The first sign that something was wrong came on a November night, when Marcus discovered an unmarked grave behind the old cemetery. The groundskeeper had mentioned it in passing. A burial site that predated the cemetery itself, possibly centuries old. Most would have reported it to the authorities. But Marcus saw an opportunity. Under the cover of midnight, he returned with his tools. The soil was surprisingly soft, as if it had been recently disturbed. 3 feet down, his shovel struck something hard. Not wood, not stone, bone. But these weren't ordinary human remains. The skeleton was perfectly preserved, white as fresh snow and arranged in an impossible position, sitting upright, arms crossed, as if waiting. Marcus's hands trembled as he carefully extracted the skull. In the moonlight, he could swear the empty sockets were watching him. That's when he heard it, a whisper, so faint it might have been the wind. Take me home. He should have stopped. He should have run. Instead, Marcus loaded the bones into his car and drove back to his laboratory, his heart pounding with a mixture of terror and excitement. He had found his perfect specimen. Back in his laboratory, Marcus arranged the bones on his examination table with reverent care. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, he began his work. But this wasn't like any skeleton he had studied before. The bones seemed to hum with an energy he couldn't explain, and every time he looked away and looked back, he could swear they had moved slightly. Days turned into weeks as Marcus became obsessed with his discovery. He stopped eating regularly, stopped sleeping, stopped answering his phone. His colleagues grew concerned, but Marcus had locked himself away with his precious bones. He measured every inch, photographed every angle, took detailed notes of every marking and imperfection. That's when he found the inscription, carved into the inside of the skull, so small it was almost invisible. Ancient symbols that seemed to writhe and dance before his eyes. When he finally deciphered them using old text from the university library, his blood ran cold. Death is not the end, but the beginning. Those who disturb the eternal rest shall join the endless vigil. But it was too late. The bones had already begun. Their work, Marcus felt it first as a tingling in his fingertips, the same fingers that had so carefully handled the ancient remains. The sensation spread up his arms, a cold that no amount of warmth could chase away. When he looked in the mirror, he saw that his skin had begun to take on a pale, waxy appearance. The transformation was slow, but inexorable. Each day, Marcus felt more of his humanity slipping away. His appetite for food disappeared entirely, replaced by a hunger for something else, something he didn't yet understand. His hair began to fall out in clumps, his eyes sank deeper into their sockets, and his skin grew thinner and more translucent. But the worst part wasn't the physical changes, it was the voices. At first, just whispers in the dark corners of his laboratory. Then, as days passed, they grew louder, more insistent. The bones were calling to their scattered brothers and sisters, and somehow, Marcus had become their conduit. "Bring us together," they whispered. "Complete the collection." Against his will, Marcus found himself drawn to the morgue's cold storage. His fingers, now skeletal and clicking, moved of their own accord as he selected bones from different bodies. A femur from a car accident victim, ribs from a drowning case, a pelvis from an elderly woman who had died peacefully in her sleep. Each bone he took seemed to sing with joy as he added it to his growing collection. The university staff began to notice the missing remains, but Marcus was clever. He took only what wouldn't be missed immediately. Bones from bodies that had already been examined, pieces that wouldn't affect identification. But with each theft, the hunger grew stronger, and his appearance grew more ghastly. One night, as he worked by candlelight in his laboratory, Marcus caught sight of his reflection in a beaker. What stared back at him was no longer human. His skin had become paper-thin, revealing the network of bones beneath his eyes had sunken so deep they were merely shadows. And when he opened his mouth to scream, no sound emerged, only the hollow whistle of wind through empty spaces.
The end came on a December night, exactly 1 month after Marcus had first disturbed that ancient grave. As the clock struck midnight, the scattered bones in his laboratory began to move on their own, sliding across tables, rolling along the floor, assembling themselves into impossible configurations. Marcus watched in fascination and horror as the original skeleton, the one from the grave, began to stand. Bones clicked into place with wet, organic sounds, and suddenly it was complete, animate, reaching out to him with arms that should not have been able to move. "Welcome, brother," it said in a voice like grinding stone. "Your vigil begins now." Marcus tried to run, but his legs wouldn't obey. Looking down, he saw why. His own bones were showing through his skin, glowing with the same ethereal light as the rest of his collection. The transformation was complete. He was no longer Dr. Marcus Thorne, promising young pathologist. He was something else entirely. The ancient skeleton placed a bony hand on Marcus's shoulder, and suddenly he understood. This was not a curse. It was a calling. The bones needed a guardian, someone to watch over them, to ensure they were never separated, never lonely. The previous guardian had waited centuries for someone worthy to take his place. Someone who truly understood the beauty and mystery of the eternal framework that outlasts all flesh. And so Marcus took his place among the eternal vigil by day. He appears as nothing more than a display skeleton in the university's anatomy lab, teaching students about the marvels of the human body. But at night, he walks the halls, tending to his collection, adding to it when necessary, always searching for the perfect specimens. They say that sometimes late at night, you can hear him in the morgue, the click of bones echoing through empty corridors. Medical students whisper about the skeleton that moves when no one is watching, about bones that rearrange themselves between classes, about cold spots that appear around certain displays. But those are just stories, aren't they? Urban legends told to frighten the young and gullible. Or perhaps Dr. Marcus Thorne is still out there, still collecting, still building his perfect ossuary of human remains. Perhaps he's watching you right now, evaluating your bones, wondering if they would make a worthy addition to his eternal collection. Sleep well, mortals, and remember, when your time comes, when your flesh falls away and only the truth remains, Marcus will be waiting. He's always waiting, because in the end, we all become part of the collection.